All right, Austin, what's
Branden,
up, dude?
what's up, man?
How are you doing?
I'm doing real well, man.
Good, man. So how did I guess kind of break down how we met? How did we meet?
I think we met through Scott.
Yeah.
And Scott,
Shout out Scott.
legend in his own. He just shut down the Ventura Float Center, which is unfortunate because for the longest time he was holding it down here in the Ventura region with that sensory deprivation tank. So, for all the athletes and people who wanted to just meditate, relax out there, he held down that spot for a long time, and he's gone. So hopefully there's another one that arises in the area.
Yeah.
But for now, it remains vacant. But that's how we met, through Scott, I believe. And I think he was introducing me to you at the Ventura Float Center after you got out of a float.
Yeah, so
Pretty
it was
sure.
after I got out of a float. I think it was probably my second float that I've done.
Yeah.
And then he mentioned that you guys were working on the Bali Locks
Yes.
project.
Yes.
Yeah. So then, we all just came together, and then we're here now.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude. That wasn't
And
that long ago.
dude, this was, I think, last year, dude.
This was last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole concept started, I think, in July when we came up. So for people who are not, tuned into the Bali Locks experiment yet, Scott and I have been working underground for basically a year now, right?
Yeah.
So it's a podcast that takes us back into the 1970s, but also a lot of futuristic effects, green screen, and not your conventional podcast. It's more of a show, I'd say, than anything.
Yeah.
But Branden's been there, especially over at Caps Media Center, helping us out.
Yeah.
Basically giving his skills and mindset of what will be best for picture, lighting, audio, all that good stuff. So, you've been a big help in a lot of ways. And
Raphael.
Raphael, man. The visual effects, if you guys have not seen the trailer yet, go to Bali Locks Experiment. We have Instagram, and right now we're actually keeping it closed down because we're not putting out content, so we're kind of freezing it because Caps Media has been closed since COVID. And so everything is still making do. Scott and I are still working on it, but we hope to launch that very soon.
Definitely, dude. Yeah. And then so like Souljah Fitness,
Mm-hmm.
how did I'm just curious to how the idea of your business came about. Like, what were you thinking? Did you want to just start working out by yourself and then things just came off of that, or what?
Yeah, so I've had a genuine passion for exercise since I was like 4 or 5, And I got into it with my dad, starting early, and my mom, and we would go out there. I would always work out with my dad, always see him running. We would run routes together and all that good stuff. And
running routes
like for football.
Oh, football.
Football,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So I grew up playing football, so me and him were always throwing the ball around, running sprints, and that's kind of what got me geared. Like, I fell in love with it,
Yeah.
Every time that I saw my dad when he was off work, let's go play football, let's go throw the ball around.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. And just growing up, I continued to, compete in sports and ran track and field for 10 years. I played football for 10 years. I was around the coach setting for a long time. So it really dawned on me one day, especially I was working at, this is a revelation because I was passing by when I was coming here, but I worked at St. John's Hospital.
Okay.
And I remember I was, deep in work, deep in school, and I was wondering, where do I really want to take my life? What do I want to do with my life?
Because, before that, were you passionate about what you were doing before, or was it just kind of like a 9-to-5 thing, or was it?
It was a 9-to-5 thing.
Yeah.
For the most part. It was mostly just getting my foot in the door for work and being like a young man, and creating, your own income and doing that. And it was great. It was great.
Earning your stripes.
Yeah, earning your stripes and meeting people and kind of branching out and figuring out what this workplace is all about.
Yeah, definitely.
First time.
Yeah.
But of course, after a while, it dawned on me that, hey, this is not my dream job. This is not what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, well, I'm going to take the time and basically follow my heart for wherever I want to go. And let's learn. Maybe I don't have the answer now. And I didn't have the answer then. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Souljah Fitness was not in my mind then.
Yeah.
So I started traveling. I branched out and I went to Australia. I joined in a 6-week volunteer program out there, which really changed my life, changed my outlook on just the world and kind of how everything wraps together and just how small the world is. Everyone's essentially the same, at least in Australia. People are working, doing their thing, and they want to accomplish their dreams like anybody else.
Yeah.
When I got back from Australia,
wait just 1 second. How compared to the U.S., how in your mind, how would you say like Australia is compared to the U.S. as far as culture, their views, all that stuff?
Yeah. So good question. I mean, I mainly stayed in Cairns or Cairns. I don't know how they pronounce it still, but it's the northeastern section, a very tropical section in northeastern Australia. And up there was a very active community, very clean city. I mean, I thought that they had it dialed in, especially with like their public areas of just how clean and organized they were. Yeah. For instance, like going to a bathroom there, you didn't even trip out about sanitation because it was all automatic. You would roll into this bathroom. Once you went in, you do your business, get out of there, and the doors close. And then there's like a sanitation cycle where they spray like alcohol and all this shit, and it's like wet every time you go in. It's all clean. I was tripping on that, and just how in close proximity to each other that there were exercise stations.
Okay.
And so this was also a buildup. And this was a buildup, I guess, subconsciously of like, how do I make fitness not only my job and career, but how do I continue to grow in that field? Where do I want to take that personally? How do I want to gain muscle? What do I want to do? Again, these questions keep refining.
Oh yeah. You've already done like some cardio, working out for football, track. So you had that sort of background already.
Yeah, exactly. Had that background. But yeah, to answer your question, very similar, community wise. I mean, Australia to, California, in my opinion. But when I got back, I still was working at the hospital, still going to Ventura College. And again, I was kind of in that state of mind where I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do, And so I kept refining it. I switched departments from being a transporter to central supply technician, which is basically just the distribution and management of all the supplies in the hospital to the nurses and doctors or whoever requests it. And so I kind of got a different scope on that. But again, nothing that I wanted to do. I knew it was just to fill the time, make money, and kind of to become my own man and branch out from my parents, And again, in the background, I was like, I love traveling. That's one thing I do know. So I kept on listening to my heart. I said, I love traveling. So again, I took time off. I actually quit my job at the hospital in Oxnard. And I said, I mean, they're not going to keep me if I go for a month again. So I'm going to just branch off and hope the best works. And I actually ended up going to Europe for 2 months. Just got a one-way ticket, ironically. And I just said, I'm going to just go for it.
So why Europe? I'm just curious.
Good question.
Yeah.
So all the connections I made in Australia from the conservation program, a lot of those people lived in Europe.
Okay.
And were spaced out across the European states or the countries. So I started off in Portugal, migrated to Spain. From Spain, I went to Switzerland, and then from Switzerland to Belgium, and then to the Netherlands. And so in each spot, I had somebody that I either knew from Australia or from here in the hometown.
Okay.
So that's how I made my connections and kind of got to see, new aspect of life also in Europe.
Yeah.
Again, very similar, Australia, Europe, and California. And so, again, I mean, on the run out there, it was like I was pressed for time. Like anybody else thinks, it's like, well, I don't have my degree. I got to get my degree. I don't have a job right now. I felt kind of like a loser, like I had been traveling too long.
So just for context, how old were you like at that time when you
went to Europe?
Went to Europe,
I want to say I was about 22.
22? Okay.
Yeah, 22 or 23.
Yeah.
And
for all the people listening, just to if they're in the same kind of situation.
Absolutely.
Don't know what to do. Like for you kind of just took that leap of faith and just did it.
Yeah, and I mean, I was also living at my parents' house, so I didn't have any obligations as far as bills go. I mean, I had my own credit cards and everything I was doing, and spending I had to, account for. But
still, taking a one-way ticket is, I guess, kind of, it's kind of risky,
bold and risky. Yeah. And I mean, in my opinion, it was like at the time I had no thought about, oh man, this is scary. I'm going out there by myself. I mean, am I gonna be able to link up with all these people that I met? But it ended up working out, and I think
Super
just
dope.
taking that gamble on faith in life in general and following your heart leads to good things.
Yeah,
and that's exactly why I'm here today. Doing this podcast. But by going back and tying together, how I established Souljah Fitness again, those questions of refinement and really isolating and asking myself, like, what is it that I want to do? And so I just started with, well, what do I love? Like, what do I like doing? Like, what do I like spending my free time doing? And two of those things were, one, being outside and exercising. And so I said, well, that's all you need. Those are the two ingredients, or the two ingredients for the recipe that you need. So I went with that, and I started to develop my own website when I had gotten back from, traveling and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I decided when I got back to my parents' house, rewinding, but when I got back to my parents' house, I wanted to branch off and become my own man and make sure that I could go out in the world and do my own thing, have my own place, everything, be independent.
Yeah.
So
Strong,
when I got
independent man.
Yeah, there you go. So when I got back from Europe, I was 23, 24, whatever I was, and I said, okay, well, I'm back. What do I want to do? And I still had the questions within my own mind, like, should I go to the universities? Because Santa Cruz was offering me a philosophy degree to go out there for 4-year commitment, and I was still on the fence about it. I was like, I love philosophy, don't get me wrong, but to go out there and get a degree and spend a whole bunch of money on philosophy doesn't seem like that's what I want to do,
Yeah.
And so I took the first opportunity that I found, because it was just 2 days before I could really put the final cap on deciding whether or not I want to go to Santa Cruz University. And I told my parents, no, I don't want to go, but I found something alternatively, which ties back into Australia and doing the conservation work. Because like I mentioned, I like being outside, and I also like working. I like using my hands. So I decided to take a trade school opportunity with a conservation program called ACE, so American Conservation Experience, and they were located in Santa Cruz, California, same place, place. And so I took that, and I did a 6-month term. I just committed to a 6-month term, not knowing what to expect, and it was magic. I mean, I met a bunch of people joining that program, and we were located in Garrapatta State Park. So we would drive and commute from Santa Cruz to Monterey and work 8 days on and then have 6 days off. And most of that time I spent right along the coast in the northernmost part of Big Sur, doing a lot of dry stone masonry.
Okay.
So building overlooks, rolling rocks, like finding the best rocks to make like a nice geometrical shaped square so that people could go on this overlook. There was wooden structures so that when you're on the cliff edge, obviously you're supported and you have a guardrail and you're on a firm foundation. That was the whole point of it.
Okay.
And so I got to become really well versed in not only dry stone masonry, but when you're out there, you're isolated amidst nature. And that was one of my goals, to be more involved with nature. Like I said, okay, that's one of the ingredients I like. So I knew just taking that step, even though I wasn't making much money,
you knew you wanted to be surrounded by nature.
I wanted to be outside.
Yeah,
I wanted to be outside. And guess what? I got that. I mean, I think I slept in a tent more than I did in a home that whole year. And so I said I committed to a 6-month term. I extended that term to 3 months, and I went up to the Sierra Nevadas in Mammoth, California. Second home to me. That's where I want to base my oasis, which we'll get to. I'll tell you about the oasis. But Mammoth was legendary in the fact that it was summertime, so it was a little bit different than winter. That's when most of the people come into Mammoth Resort, because that's the attraction, snowboard, skiing. But summertime it's a blessing of its own. And high altitude training, again, in my own mind, I was like, I'm not just doing this for the program, but how can I get better in my own version of self to, get better in exercise? Like, where do I want to expand? Where do I want to take that? And high altitude training was one of those tools right in front of me. So even just doing the same routine, because I got into trail running and I got into lifting kettlebells and whatnot, and just doing that same routine.
Was this mid Oasis, like ACE training? You were working out and
So on off days, and even while we were doing like the dry stone masonry and stuff, like we had projects, right? And everyone expected you to kind of get work done. However, you had a lot of free time, and you didn't have to spend that time with everybody in the program, So a lot of the time, especially because we were exposed to the elements, it would be cold as hell sometimes. So people were either bundled up at the fire, or you're in your own sleeping bag in the tent. And you got a lot of time to think out there, a lot of time to read, whatever you want to do. And so that's really where my fascination and attraction to migrating towards exercise and establishing it as a business rather than something that I just do on my free time really began. And so it was kind of in that tent, that time alone, like, oh shit, dude, like I'm exposed. I got nothing, I don't really have anything much. So I did that stint. And then for 3 months out there in Sierra Nevadas, we did, cross-cut work. So it was a lot of exercise, a lot of physical activity, a lot of hiking, and a lot of nature. So all those things were there, but not exactly the way I saw it, because I didn't want to be working for some program and not making like my own pay, my own dime.
Yeah.
So I finished up with ACE, and I came back home to Ventura with my family, where I was living with my parents. I think I was about 25 at this time.
Yeah.
And it only took me basically a week or two to go, okay, what's my first step before getting involved with this business? Because I knew I was going to take it there. I was going to incorporate nature and exercise together no matter what. But before, I just got done working 9 months, real hard. So I was going to take another trip. So I took another trip with my dad, and we went out to Thailand and Vietnam for 6 weeks.
Dope.
3 weeks in Vietnam and 3 weeks in Thailand, and got some time to explore, that culture. And again, hardworking people, very kind people.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how kind they are, especially how recent the wars were and what was done to them and done to their country, but yet how willing they were to accept people back, Americans, people who had been in the war, against them.
Yeah.
And just how forgiving they were. And that was I have a big admiration for Vietnam and Thailand just in that sense. And then obviously from being there, just the experience was mind altering.
Yeah.
It's just different. It's different. We were in the heart. We weren't in touristy parts. So that's never the objective. Like, we want to get amidst the culture there, and so we want to go to the roots.
Straight up like rice fields and
whatever
villages.
We could ride in their buses, ride in local transit, checking it out. Making connections with people that worked at the bars. What's their lifestyle? Where'd they come from? And a lot of cool people willing to talk, and that had fucking tremendous English. I was amazed.
Wow,
how
dude.
the fuck? And so anyways, after all that, I decided when I finally got back from those travels, okay, well, one, I'm gonna branch off from my parents. Where do I go? And how do I start this business, and how do I accumulate income along the way to keep me afloat while I create this thing? So I decided to apply for the hospital out in Santa Barbara, Cottage Hospital.
Okay.
Because I had already had, prior experience. Yeah, right here in Oxnard.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, okay, that's a plus. I like Santa Barbara. I never thought I would live there, but yeah, why not? It's going to be close enough to my family and friends that I could still kind of be, foot in the door, but also like branched out so that I'm not distracted and that I'm actually set up for success doing this thing.
Yeah.
And so I got offered materials management position out in Santa Barbara, which I still currently do part-time. And it was a big it was a big transition point for me, because it was the first time I branched out from my parents. I found a place in Montecito right after all the mudslides and the fires, which cut down the price, because for anybody who knows Montecito, it's a very ritzy and rich community.
Yeah.
But I was able to get a studio cottage and rent it out cheap. I think I was only paying $1,100 at the time per month.
Yeah.
And so that was I could afford that, working the job full time at that time at Cottage Hospital, and I had isolation, and again close to trails and close to everything that I wanted, nature. And so I really began to make that seed blossom, so to speak, of where I wanted to take Souljah Fitness, and how I even came up with that name.
Yeah.
It was more along the lines like, well, how can I be like strong and sturdy, but not, geared towards war? I'm not about violence. I'm not about any of that, for a soldier. But a Souljah, I took into account that, hey, you know what? That's somebody who's trying to transform and become a better person. And through exercise, through being amidst nature and being themselves, take it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
And so that's what I started with, a Souljah. Let's be a Souljah. Okay. Now it's all about Souljah Fitness. Okay. So how do I get that? How do I get this going? I want to be a personal trainer? Okay, I got to get the certification. I got the certification through another company called ACE, just like ACE, American Council on Exercise. Took me about 4 months. Very easy test for anyone who's interested, who wants to get a personal training degree or certification. It's quite simple. I think the test is 100 questions or so. It cuts the basics, like anatomical questions, diet questions, proper form, diet design programs, like all these different things, right? But they're almost like basic common questions to answer. So even if you do the program or you took the test and you didn't learn shit through the book, I'm sure you could pass the test.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. So that's one stepping stone to become a certified personal trainer. And so from there, I said, okay, I got my certification. Now, how do I want to distinguish my business from the rest? a personal trainer amidst other personal trainers is very hard to get noticed, right? Especially with renowned trainers out in Santa Barbara, people who've been doing it for 7, 10, 15, 20 years, people that are doing it.
Yeah.
And so I started with what I could. Okay, what do I have? What's my inventory? Well, I have kettlebells. I had 10 kettlebells to my name. I had a couple hammers to my name. I had dumbbells to my name. And, okay, let me get this thing out there. Let me get my name out there. So that's what I said about creating the website. I created my own website, www.souljahstrong.com, and that's where my first inventory started. I come up with blogs, exercise programs for basically all ages and genders. People who were focused in athletics, there was a program for them. People who didn't really know what they wanted to do, but they knew they wanted to be in shape, there was a program for them.
Yeah.
Kids, teenagers who just want to be active and more of like a daycare service, I offer that as well.
So for these, so did you wrote your own stuff on the blogs?
Yeah.
And then you created like your own workouts, personalized workouts for these people.
Yeah.
How did you go about? You just researched what I guess each individual should be doing, or how did you base your workouts? Workouts. Yeah.
Well, past experience, like what I went along through with coaches.
Yeah.
In my time with track and field and football, and then continuing that knowledge and not only the program and the certification that I got, but I would do research for all those age groups and kind of pinpoint it down to, okay, what are the essentials? I'm not going to hit across everything, and I don't have all the answers, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I at least got the framework designed for everybody, to stay tuned for those teenagers, the middle-aged, the athletes, the elderly.
Yeah.
And so I really dispersed it. There's a spectrum, right?
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to hit just one like target group. You want to
not starting out.
Yeah.
Especially being a coach, I was around coaching for a long time, but to be a coach now, I'm not. How can I say I'm the best? I've never done it.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to really push, myself and test myself to the fullest. And I thought, well, what better way to do that than to reach out everywhere? Mm-hmm. I'll take on anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll take on anybody. And that's what I set out for. So I put it out like that. Came up with a logo. All these little details involved, by the way. There's so many little things along the way.
Like in between?
Yeah, in between to developing Souljah Fitness,
Yeah, definitely.
Like even from the logo, everything has been done basically on my own creative dime and others that are helping me.
Yeah.
Putting it out there like, hey, I know this gentleman who does logo design. Hey, I know Branden who does, video posts and blogs and all these different things. So how can I piece this together with their knowledge and their professionalism to really collaborate and get this thing as high as it can, as high as it can go,
definitely,
and continue to refine that. Even where Souljah Fitness stands today, it's like there's always going to be room.
There's
for
always
growth.
Improvement, growth. Yeah, just like with anything. Yeah. I mean, you're constantly like pushing the bar.
Yeah, I don't know if perfection is something that could be reached, but at least that's the goal. That's the aim.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
What was the question?
Well, it was like it started off with, your own personalized workouts with like kids, women, older people. So I guess that's your goal right now is to get really dialed in with certain clients that you take on or that you have.
Yeah.
So you want to personalize their workouts for what they want to do, like their goals, their aspirations, their fitness goals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, for instance, let's just take an example.
Dude, I heard about Kenny's story too.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, he told me about his story. Dude, mind blowing.
Yeah. You want to break that down right now, or you?
Yeah, dude. Like if you want to, well.
Yeah. So.
Yeah,
break
it down. Yeah.
So Kenny was one of my most recent clients, and he dates back to about a year ago as well. This is where I was still commuting back and forth from Santa Barbara to Ventura because I had launched this business, and I said, well, I'm going to do anything I can for success. And some of these people that contacted me were not in my location, not even in close proximity. So I was like, well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to drive to this person, even if I'm not making my money back. I don't care. I want to help people. That's my goal. That's my objective.
You weren't even thinking about the money, dude.
Yeah. I was just like, I don't want to make excuses, one.
Yeah.
And two, I really want to do this thing, and I really do want to help people. And Kenny was one of those, people that reached out to me, and he was in a dire situation. He was, obese at the time. He was training to become a police officer, and so he was going through the police academy. And for anyone who is aware of what they go through, they have to take a written test and also a physical test, and then they're on their way, right? So Kenny, actually it was Kenny's dad who reached out to me first.
Okay.
Because, a little backtrack here. So how people can connect and contact me, like through Souljah Fitness, was not only through my own advertisements and my own postings and whatnot, word of mouth, but I also signed up through different programs called like Coach Up and different apps out there that connect clients to trainers in whatever area that they're at. So I use Coach Up as a tactic there. And so you have to separate and go through Coach Up's policy and go under their umbrella, essentially. But it's still personal training, and it's still helping people out. So he signed up for one session. His dad signed him up for one session. And Kenny and I met over at Arroyo Verde Park in Ventura. And Kenny basically wanted to get better at running. Part of the physical requirement of that test was that you had to run, I think, a 7:30 mile.
Yeah.
And at that time, Kenny was running 12-minute miles.
Yeah.
And, 300 pounds plus. And so I was like, well,
was he like a linebacker playing football?
He was a lineman playing football. And so he had experience, and he actually had a lot of power and quick speed out of the blocks.
Yeah.
But once you got past 5 yards, it was like, oh man, we hit some molasses. We're sinking in quicksand.
Yeah.
And which is expected, right? especially when you're carrying more weight, it's harder to generate that and carry it through for that amount of time.
Definitely.
And so working for a week, I knew that, okay, I'm going to do the best. I know that this is probably not realistic. He's taking the test next week, but I'm going to help him as best as I can. I'm going to help refine basically from toe to head of what he can do to correct, form and breathing and cardio and train, and just see where we can get him at. And so even though it wasn't much, I think he went from a 12-minute mile in that first week to like 11:30 just from the techniques that I taught him.
Yeah.
And he failed the test. He failed the test, and kind of expected, coming from my end. I was like, well, my hope's high. I hope he does it because he's a smart dude and he's got, the will and the courage to do it.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And I remember reaching out to him about a week after, kind of letting him settle into it and, the loss. And he said, for now, man, I'm kind of out of the equation. I want to continue training, but I need some time away. And that's that, right? So thank you for your help. And his dad was very appreciative, but again, it was, they were trying to do something to get into the police academy, and it was unsuccessful.
Yeah.
So 6 months go by and still no sign of Kenny. I think I sent him a few messages, and he was just like, nah, I'm still doing my own thing. And come to find out, finally, when we do get back in person about 6 months ago from the date, right, he told me a lot, and he looked different. He looked thinner. He looked like he had lost weight.
Yeah.
And he was on his way down from being the person he was.
Yeah.
And so he opened up and said, dude, I hit basically my back against the wall point where I felt like I was depressed. I felt like I was a loser, and I wasn't willing to accept it. But I only knew one way out of that. And so that one way out was grinding my ass off. And, well, what do I got to do? Okay, I got to get a better diet. I got to fucking exercise. And I got to fucking really work hard, even being, because I think he worked graveyard shifts, and he had a very interesting work schedule at that time. And I think he still does. I think he still fluctuates between graveyards and then early mornings and, whatever the police academy calls for. Because he does work at one of the local jails, I think.
Okay.
So that's how he got his foot in the door, and that he knew he wanted to go branch out and become into the police academy.
Okay.
So he basically spoke out to me and said, hey man, so that all happened. I hit my turning point, and I've been on it. I've been doing this. I got in touch with a dietitian now, and I've been doing my own exercises, and I've been busting my ass, but I need help. I need to become a better runner, because in order to pass that test, you have to run a 7:30 mile.
Yeah.
Granted, he was at 325 pounds or so, went down to about 250 or whatever, 260, lost a lot of weight.
From that 6 month span.
Yes. From that 6 month span.
Yeah.
And then with the 6 months that I had with him, we basically broke down, okay, how do we get you faster? How do we break that 12 mile down to 7 and 30 minute mile? So we worked. It was not only refinement and coaching on my end, but it was a lot of cardio and a lot of conditioning. I mean, just to get to a 7:30 mile, you don't have to be the best runner, have the best form, any of that. You just have to work your ass off, a lot of it.
You do.
Right? And then obviously not carry as much weight as he was carrying. So that's what we started with. I knew, first off, this is mainly going to be a conditioning program for Kenny.
Yeah.
As much of it is going to be, me teaching him the best methods I can for him to be as aerodynamic as possible, run up on his toes, carry his breath with him, have all these relaxed points along the way among a challenging mile when you're pushing it and be successful in it.
Yeah.
So we did that. We went out. He would meet me, once or twice a week, and I would basically coach him for an hour and a half, whatever time we had. And he kept making progress. Every week we'd get together. I would use the Strava app to basically monitor how many miles were covered and the speed at which we were working. And so my tactics as a coach is basically working into 3 different zones. This is what I taught Kenny. This is what I teach anybody who's trying to perform better in running, especially.
Yeah.
Is that, well, there's going to be zone 1, which is 90 to 100%. Like, this is where you're getting it. You're really sprinting hard, or you're running fast, right? Especially a mile. You can't run, or most people can't run like a full-on sprint for a mile.
Yeah, that's...
So that's zone
intense.
1. I consider that pretty intense.
Yeah.
Zone 2 is pretty moderate, right? So anywhere from 70 to 80% speed. And to kind of get in that rhythm and feel out that groove of what it means to lay off the gas full pedal and get into that zone 2 where you're like, okay, I'm coasting, I could still breathe, but I'm still working hard. I'm still pushing the limits. And then a zone 3, which is more relaxed, more of a jog,
kind of like a jog,
essentially. Yeah. And so I did different tests on him, different trials on him of those zones, and how he could perform better by maybe starting out at the blocks hot and then coasting midway, different tactics, right? And I found out the best formula for him that worked for him, right? Because this is all personalized.
Personalized, yeah.
Yeah, for somebody, they might be able to stay in the zone 1 for a mile.
Yeah.
That's great. Kenny couldn't. And so it was how much can we stay in zone 1 without exhausting the tank, but also get you towards a faster mile time?
So it's like tempo work.
Tempo work, basically. Yeah. And then also coaching him upon how to become relaxed while doing it, and being okay.
Breathing.
Yeah, breathe and not worrying about time. Just using it as an indicator to get whatever you need to get done, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because most people get psyched out whenever they see the time, or they're like, fuck, I only got 2 minutes. I got to really crank it. And they start getting stressed.
Was breathing like a big thing? Because I know if you're able to control your breathing, you're able to, I guess, get in that more flow state. Yeah.
I think it is. It's very important. And for Kenny, and what I tell everybody is, okay, for this practice, I don't want you to talk at all.
Yeah.
Okay? And I want you to get real in tune with you and your breath.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I keep telling people over and over, even along the run.
That's so
while
true.
I'm running about them.
Yeah.
You and your breath. Just focus on you and your breath.
Yeah.
Okay? So whatever he did, right? And I have no consciousness of what he's thinking while he's doing this, right? He's not being transparent with me because I told him not to talk. But that's a huge part of it, is breathing. Breathing's probably 70% of the game. That's the foundation. If you can control your breath, you can control what you're doing.
Definitely.
And so as long as you're conditioned, which again was the whole point, you're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine. It's all about just not psyching yourself out and worrying
Staying
about time
calm.
or worrying about, oh my God, all these different factors.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks ago, right, the big day finally comes around. Kenny's ready to go for the police academy test again after a year of trying it out. And this time was a little different. And this time he was successful. And he gave me a text nonchalantly, because I remember building up to it. I was like, yo, I want you to, make sure that you call me or whatever before the test begins. Because it was tentative dates because of COVID and everything was rescheduled. And so he didn't even tell me. He was like, yo, man, I just passed the test. I ran a 7:30 mile.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, dude, he fucking did it. I mean, this guy he completely transformed. He went from a 325-pound gentleman to basically like a 215-pound lean guy at 6'0", 6'3", whatever the guy is.
Yeah.
And more than anything, a happy, genuine, just in love with what he had accomplished.
Yeah.
And that resonated deep with me as a coach, because not only, I mean, of course, he only spends so much time with me, and I can't pin it on me like, oh, I was the coach that made it happen for him. He made it happen for himself.
Definitely.
Hands down. But being a part of that journey and realizing, holy shit, what I tailed it back to, and not only my passion, but his dream, and combining dreams together, that's where magic really happens.
Yeah.
Because not only were we exercising, we were outdoors doing it. He was getting, his goals accomplished. And it was an amazing feeling. It still is, even when I talk about it,
Yeah. So like his goals and your goals kind of just combined, and you guys just helped each other.
The right time in the right place. And
right time in the right place, yeah.
Again, kind of all based in faith, right? Because here I am trying to get my business out, my name out there. How do I do that, aside from word of mouth and advertisements and all this shit, and just hoping that someone contacts me,
and
and
somehow
gives me a
like
chance.
Kenny's dad reached out to you.
Kenny's
and just,
dad
like,
through a program that was not even Souljah Fitness.
Yeah. So it's like, it's crazy how like things come together like that.
Right.
It just happens.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that was a unique twist on it. And the fact that he did reach me through CoachUp, which is an app that I basically was like, dude, anything that I can get people's attention on. And once he was done with trying it through CoachUp, he finally went through my own business and he paid whatever I was charging at the time.
Yeah.
And basically under my umbrella, like, there's no alternatives here. It's just Souljah Fitness and you, the client, and so Kenny is one of, by far, my best clients yet. Because of the transformation he's accomplished and what he still does. I mean, he's still doing it. He loves exercise. He's doing it on his own. I don't have to tell him. I don't have to push him.
And it's cool. Like, it's a learning process too. Like, the whole journey that you went through, you guys both learned on the way.
A tremendous amount.
A tremendous amount. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it was big because it had finally reached the point where I was migrating away from the 9-to-5 job, and I'm still chipping away. I mean, I'm in the midst of it. I'm
in the
part-time.
trenches right now.
Yeah, I'm in the trenches. I'm part-time, but I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel finally.
Yeah.
Because where it started, it wasn't like that. I had hope, I had faith, but when you're first starting out and you really don't know how to reassure yourself, like even without making money, without having any clients, that it's all going to work out. How could you make something work out when you don't have it at all?
Yeah, it's like, well, I guess there's a quote. It's like being an entrepreneur is like jumping off a cliff with broken airplane pieces and putting it together as you're going down.
You're going down. Yeah, it's a great analogy, dude. Because I remember doing crazy ass shit where I was like, okay, I designed my own flyer, right? I designed my own Souljah Fitness flyer with the logo. I found somebody to create the logo for me. I was like, fuck yeah, this is a part, right? And so while I was doing my own exercises, before I knew about like, Access or local magazines or Instagram ads and all that stuff, I was running out, to the local neighborhoods in Montecito and Santa Barbara. And while I was doing my runs, I was tossing fucking flyers in mailboxes.
You're just like doing whatever it takes.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever it took, because I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so really, I think looking back now, if I could tell anybody who wants to start up on their dream, who's working that 9-to-5 and not stoked about where they're at, is that it is so worth the hard work and effort on top of that 9-to-5 job to make sure that you can find a way to get whatever your dream is full time.
Yeah.
Worth every second. Like looking back now, like before you think, holy shit, it's going to take so much work, so much fucking energy.
Yeah.
But the amazing thing about passion and that energetic spark
like
is
you'll
that
find the energy. Yeah.
It's infinite energy.
Yeah.
There's no drain. Like it's all a mental parameter that you have to get through.
Yeah.
Of why we keep ourselves locked in these boxes, or why we don't think that we can attain the goals that we set out for, the dreams that we have. Every dream's possible, depending on what it is. I'm not going to say that you could go fucking float and levitate everywhere, but I'm sure in a certain way you can.
Tanks, dude.
Yeah.
We got the float tanks.
I'm sure. So maybe nothing is, impossible, but I think as long as you really have it set and you're consistent about honing that in every day.
Too.
Yeah.
Well, and also the fact that I guess when you started, you weren't thinking about, well, you were, but it wasn't, the main goal was to make money. It was to help people. It was to help people achieve their goals.
Oh, 100%, dude. I was actually afraid to charge people money.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, I feel weird about charging people money. I knew it was a service, but especially for like a 1 hour thing where you're taking somebody through exercise, which to me, it's like, I fucking love exercise. Like, you don't have to charge me a fucking penny. I'll do it for free.
Yeah.
But to charge somebody else who's really not accustomed to exercise and to see it through their eyes and be like, holy shit, there's people out there that don't know what this is about. And so that connection between getting them not only involved in exercise, but to also get them outdoors, if they're not involved with the outdoors, or maybe they're more of an office person or indoor person, you fucking see some transformations that unfold right before your eyes. And I wish I could take a recording, and I could, I guess, and capture the moment pre-exercise and then post-exercise.
You mean for yourself or for
clients?
For clients,
and how they feel. And like going into an exercise, maybe not so stoked sometimes, maybe kind of like more thinking about their workspace or whatever their problems that they have in mind at that time.
Yeah.
and then going through the exercises, talking it out, because it's not just exercise. It's not like we're 60 minutes of exercise only. I'm here to talk to people. I'm here to give people breaks and connect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of the people, depending on their age and where they're at with exercise and their how consistent they are, some people aren't consistent at all. And so even going for a long walk is an exercise, and so to personalize that around the person who's coming to you as a coach, it's like that's what it's all about. And how to make it comfortable enough, and when to ask questions, when to push them, when that right time is, so that not only are they getting exercise in, but they're releasing a part about themselves that opens themselves up. There's more freedom involved when you can talk to somebody and feel comfortable and feel like, oh, I can express this to somebody.
Yeah, even like that story just reminds me of Steven, of how like Steven, he even said that you make him feel comfortable. He doesn't like you don't want to push him to the next level. You want to kind of encourage him to reach his goals instead of like, going hard or
being the dictator.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Steven's another client for those who don't know.
Yeah.
And Steven is, again, he's trying to improve upon running. He never ran. He's 55 years old. He never ran. I mean, maybe like for PE and shit, but he was never like, I'm going to go run.
Yeah.
So this was the first time ever running.
And then taking the fact like he's had shin splints for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What a doozy. So we started off real slow. Most of it was, the foundation was set upon hiking, right? So we would hike a lot. And actually, matter of fact, when we first met, it was mostly about kettlebell work. So we did a lot of kettlebell exercises, a lot of core work, a lot of things where you have to move your body in ways that for most people are uncomfortable, and you have to be flexible in a lot of these positions. Being 55 and being where Steven was at, I don't think he necessarily coped well with all the exercises that were thrown out at him.
Yeah.
Because of all the factors that play into it, and so it takes time. But over time, he started to realize maybe this is not what I want to do. Maybe this is not kettlebell work. Maybe this is something more. And we got it. It was running. He says, you know what? I've never ran in my life. I want to become a better runner. And so amidst the journey, I said, well, that's perfect. Well, let's get you started to run.
Yeah.
So we started off real small, Branden, like 30 seconds at a time. 30 seconds at a time was hard. Yeah. And we mostly recovered for longer periods of time. But like you said, I wasn't the guy who was going to push him and say, come on, we got 5 more fucking minutes,
Yeah.
I'm not like that, because I like people to genuinely fall in love with the sport that they're taking it, so that they can go and apply it themselves wherever they go on their journey. Not with me as a personal trainer, because for the most part, once people realize that they can do it and they have that support system to get them to that spot that they're looking for, I want people to branch off. I don't want people to use me forever unless they really genuinely like, working out with me or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was cool. It was cool that, and Steven started to make progress really fucking quick. It started off at 30-second bouts, long recovery times, and now, in 3 months, I think it was only 3 months ago that we started. 3 months to this day, he ran a 5K. He ran a 5K in a slow pace. I think it was 11:30, and slow, to me, I'm coming from my side of the view, but 11:30 to him is probably really fast, considering he never did that before.
Yeah.
And so just to see the transformations and the comfortability of people kind of setting out on their own and taking flight with what they know they can do now that they've tried it, I think at first it's a lot of fear, like, I can't run. I got shin splints. I got all these different things.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I understand. And we'll treat those and we'll tend to those as best as possible.
And then he even said, like, for you researched how to treat shin
how
splints.
to treat shin splints.
Yeah,
right. How to minimize the effects of that, and especially while we run for that hour.
Yeah, and then going back to just catering to the actual client, and then just adapting to their needs.
Yeah.
And then
exactly.
Yeah.
And it takes time. It takes time. And some days, we would get out there and we were expecting to go run, a 5K straight, and we ended up walking a 5K. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, it's all upon what the client feels is best for them and their body. Because I could sit there and push them as hard as I want. But it's like that quote, you could lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Exactly.
So I understand that. So why even try to force that upon somebody? And also being careful to balance it out where I understand when it's best to push someone. I know the time when it's a good opportunity to push someone because I know they can do it, rather than it's probably best that they don't do this right now because they could probably get injured if they do it. They're really struggling. It's probably best to lay off the gas in this point. And I guess that's where a coach comes in handy, is kind of where to pinpoint. No, you can do this. Like, you can fucking do this. Like, you can. Come on, just try it.
Yeah.
You're giving up on yourself.
Exactly.
Versus you're not giving up on yourself. You're being honest. You're being transparent. I think this is a breaking point where you should stop.
Yeah.
And don't push it to this level that you expected to get at today. It's okay. You don't have to get there today. Be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Be there the next day. This isn't about a time crunch too. There's no rush to get to your goals. Yeah.
There's time. We got time.
Yeah, we got time, dude.
Yeah.
I get people want that summer beach body, but dude, it takes fucking time, man. Let it marinate a little bit, and be comfortable in your own skin, Whether you're 350 pounds or not, I think the first and most important factor is you got to fall in love with what you're doing, and you got to fall in love with yourself.
Yeah.
First and foremost, you got to fall in love with the most disgusting aspects of yourself.
Even like, I guess, referring to working out, like for me, I guess I would constantly worry about like what other people think.
Yeah.
Or how this dude, he's lifting super heavy. Like, how come I'm not lifting that heavy?
Right.
But then it's like you have to just be okay with yourself, and then just not worry about what anybody else is doing, but just focus on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And so it's intimidating, right?
Yeah, it is intimidating. Yeah.
You see somebody who's lifting like an extreme amount of weight, and you go, "Oh shit, I'm just lifting the bar."
Yeah.
But what's wrong with that?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
And matter of fact, if you take a step back for a second and you go, well, they're lifting a lot of weight, but they didn't start there.
No, it took time.
Yeah.
It took time.
And you start to see yourself in other people and go, holy shit, like that dude was doing what I was doing, but now he's lifting that. He was lifting the bar at one point, but now he's lifting that. So what makes him different than myself? Genetics play a role, sure.
Yeah.
Genetics play a role. Time and effort plays a role. How often you do it. Yeah, and how hard you're getting it when you do it. Are you being honest with yourself? Are you, I went to the gym and I hit it hard, man. Well, no, you really didn't, pussy. You really didn't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so that's also why it's a good idea to have a coach around, because they hold you accountable for not only your own expectations, but basically your limits. And you get to learn a lot about a person and kind of their scope on how hard, how fast they can push themselves, and also kind of that low point of where they tend to burn out or get relaxed or become complacent in exercise.
Yeah.
And so refining it, and again, keeping them away from that, don't quit on yourself mentality, but also not pushing it full foot on the gas every time.
Yeah.
And finding that sweet spot to carry yourself along so that exercise remains in your life for a longer period of time. That's the goal. I get having like different missions and accomplishments, like I'm going to lift 2,000 pounds, I'm going to get there. But I don't see that as a logical goal to keep forever. Like, I don't think a lot of people will say, I want to lift 2,000 pounds on squat rack the rest of my life.
No.
They probably want to get there, but I don't think it would be logical to do that for the rest of your life, or possible, probably for that matter, if you're like 90 or something.
No, definitely not, dude.
Yeah.
But it's, like you said, enjoying the process and just making it a part of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And just enjoying what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
For you, like for exercise, when did you start up, Brandon? Like, when did you start exercise up?
I started 3 years ago. It was like January 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I had ran track. I had ran cross country. Never like lifted a barbell at all or like lifted weights. So I was super scrawny, like 135 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Framework from all the cross country, huh?
All the cross country.
Yeah, running. Yeah, what motivated you to begin?
I guess just it was I kind of like relating to Kenny. It was just like that switch. Like, okay, I'm. Well, then I had gained like 45 pounds. So I was like 190. And it was kind of fat. It wasn't like lean muscle.
Okay.
So then I was like, okay, I need to make a change. And then just started going to the gym.
Yeah.
And just, I didn't know what I was doing, but all I knew was that I wanted to build muscle and then just slowly incorporate workouts.
Yeah.
And then like 3 years later, still going.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you love it.
Working out. I love it, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
amazing.
it like it doesn't happen overnight either.
No. Are there some days that you actually kind of like, I'm not going to say that you regret after the fact, because I'm sure it's rare to regret exercise when you do it. But are there ever days that you're like, I don't really feel that motivated to do it?
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just it's kind of just a mental state that you have to kind of override.
Yeah.
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 And then like after you do it, you feel so much better.
What
You
is
feel
that?
amazing, dude.
What is that though? In like pretty much every human that I've spoke with
Yeah.
about exercise, where you know that you're never gonna regret it. I mean, unless you get injured or some like crazy thing happens.
Yeah.
But for the most part, there's that first mental blockage where it's like, yeah, I don't know if you should do it today.
Yeah.
Well, what's the reason? No
What's
matter
that
where
blockage?
you're coming from, whether you had a long shift, whether you were well rested, it's almost like there's an infinite amount of possibilities, but yet that same blockage could come up. You could be really well rested and still have that question arise. Like, do you want to do this today?
Yeah.
Right? So
No, yeah.
what is that?
I don't know, but I think some people, like I think Ty Lopez mentioned this. People are like their brains are wired to not receive like good things. Impulses. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like people kind of think of working out as not like
Right.
Well,
it does take effort.
It takes effort,
and it does take time. So I get that.
Yeah.
I get that concept. But it's just funny, like even coming from my own like perspective, like I love exercise, but there's also days for me where I'm like, I don't really want to do this, but I do it anyways, and I push past that, and I feel great after doing it.
Yeah, you feel great, and it's like an endorphin release. You get all these kind of like runner's high, or
yeah,
it just feels good.
It feels great. Yeah. There's so many different sports out there. Sure, I'm sure that there's like amazing feelings after like certain exercises that I've never done before.
Yeah.
I'm sure it like all kind of ties together, but still, like I wasn't a volleyball player. What's the high like?
Do you think it's like it all goes back to that flow state of like just being in the moment?
There you go. There you go, Brandon. You answered that. Hit it, dude. You hit it.
Just like being in the moment, just fully engulfed in what you're doing.
Yeah, that's the thing. The zone.
The zone.
Being in the zone.
Yeah.
And I love that. But yeah, I mean, I guess going back to, working with clients and personalizing everything.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever work with somebody, or do you usually work out with somebody in the gym, or is it just you?
Well, when I first started off, I worked out with like somebody that I went to work with.
Mm-hmm.
So we started together. Both of us didn't know what we were doing, so we would help each other out.
Yeah.
And then just build workouts with each other, and then we kind of branched off because he started doing his own thing, and then I branched off and I started doing my own thing.
Right.
And no, I did not train with anybody else. It was all learning from YouTube, learning from people that are really good at what they're doing.
Yeah.
And just I guess self-taught.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
What do you magnetize towards, like exercise in general? Like disregarding anything that's like a new trial and error, like something that like you do over and over again. Like, what's your exercise? Like, what's your go-tos?
Well, I guess my personal goals are I want to each time just bench, squat, deadlift, kind of like powerlifting. So I want to increase the weight that I put on the bar, and then I guess that mindset, I like that mindset because it pushes me and it makes me want to get better each and every day. What's
great about like the squat rack and the core, the clean lifts, right, is that there's really no limit to the amount of weight you can push around. So there's really like, okay, can I lift 5 more pounds today? Can I lift 10 more pounds a day? Like, there's always going to be a number that you could basically top, right?
Exactly.
Which is cool. I like that.
So I kind of like just go each time you're in the gym, just trying to be the best person that you can be each and every day. And I love that concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like all like the in-between stuff? Like, do you like geeking out about like supplements, or like what you can do prior, pre-workout, post-workout, vitamins, your diet? Like, do you find that stuff interesting?
I do. Like, I kind of like went down the rabbit hole of like supplements. I'm taking like probiotics, multivitamins, what else? Like creatine.
Yeah.
Plant-based protein.
Right.
And it's all interesting, and it's all stuff that I gravitate towards,
Right.
And
science experiment on your own self. Right?
Exactly,
dude.
I
fucking love
your
that.
body's a machine, and like you can. I think if you put, I don't know, it's like kind of like gas, or like a car. You have to take care of your car to be able to drive where you want to go.
Yeah.
So,
what are going to be the best things?
Yeah.
Are there upgrades? Are there anything?
Upgrades.
Is there anything to eliminate?
Yeah.
What's to keep?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all those questions are really fun, especially as you keep going along.
Yeah. But I guess for you, like, what you're doing like trail running and
Yeah.
yeah.
Matt, I'm glad you asked me that right now, because I've actually reached the point now. So I guess to let people know of like what I do. So I competitively train. I run for Xterra. So they host different events, triathlons and trail runs across the globe. But they also host a local trail run here in the Southern California mountain regions, as close as Malibu all the way down to San Diego. And they put on a competition, a series of about 8 races, I think it is, with awards and medals and different opportunities to go compete at national and state levels.
Yeah.
And so I heard about this thinking, well, I just like trail running, and I kind of want to see where I like fit amongst the people that are doing this, right? So the very first time I tried Xterra was over in Malibu Creek State Park. I signed up. There's 3 different events that you can do. You can do like a 5K, you could do a 10K, or you can do a 22K. So half marathon, or basically as low as 5 miles. And at that time, I considered myself more of a sprinter, right? I'd done track and field as a sprinter. I was a football player.
400 meter, 800 meter, like
in track.
Yeah.
Oh, I did short shit. I did
like
100-yard sprint, long jump, the 4x1 relay.
Okay. So like straight on sprinting.
Max 200, and I was gassed at 200, so that was all I could do.
Yeah.
But I wanted to branch out, and especially once I started getting involved with trail running. Ironically, it wasn't through my own wherewithal. It wasn't like, oh, I want to go and try out trail running. It was actually my friend, one of my best friends, Clark Carbom. Shout out to Clark. He got me involved in a lot of the trail running stuff, because in our backyard, essentially at Arroyo Verde Park, there's all these trails, and we were pretty avid hikers at the time. But I never took it to the level of, oh, I could run these hills, right? And so he pushed me to that next level of actually going and getting after it, and using that as a tactic to not only increase my conditioning level, but to fall in love with it. Little did I know. But I used it as a tool then to basically just get better at running, right?
Yeah.
And so, anyways, ironically, and I also want to use this time too to let people know that one of our pre-workouts, and still one of the best pre-workouts to this day in my eyes, in my opinion, is marijuana, cannabis.
Oh shit, you smoked before?
I smoked before.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, I asked the same damn question to Clark when I saw him doing it before we started up on one of these trail runs. I was like, why are you getting high? Like, what are you doing right now? He's like, we're going to go run. I was like, we're not going to get high and go run. Fucking, it's crazy. Well, I was crazy because I didn't have it. I was limited in my mind and my thinking.
Just open your perspective.
I might as well go try it. I mean, there's nothing to lose trying it. But I think most of the the paranoia involved is like, is my heart rate, my heart going to explode? What's going to happen, right? All these different thoughts that just remain thoughts no matter what. That's what I learned from training with him in the trails there, is that we would do that pre-workout, and it was fun because we would express ourselves and talk, and then we'd go out and really just lay it out on the line. And so I found different levels involved with smoking cannabis, and really how far you could push the body, and that none of that mind chatter even comes into context when you're running. A lot of the shit that you think does not even end up happening, and at first it started off as negative feelings or negative comments towards self, like, I can't do this, I can't run up that hill, I definitely can't keep it going, oh my God, my heart's gonna blow out, man, my muscles hurt, right? All the negative stuff.
Yeah, my legs are gonna give out, my legs are on fire.
Yet I'm thinking all that stuff while I'm still running. Yeah. So it's almost like
it's like negative self-talk.
Yeah.
And it just it discourages you from actually running. Yeah.
The only benefit was that, like, when I got done, I was like, oh, I did it, and so I can say, oh, fuck you, all that mind chatter. But again, I didn't want to remain in play with all that, especially self-talk, because that's a big thing. And I realized what the importance of positive self-talk is, not only in trail running, but no matter where you take yourself, right? And encouraging yourself and not giving up on yourself, basically. Yeah. And so I started to refine that, and I said, well, damn, there's so many more levels to running than I thought. Like, what you think while you run, what you do before you run, all these different things, right? So this all led me to the Xterra Games eventually. And I found Xterra online. I saw that they were hosting a local championship run, and so I said, I'm going to get involved. Even though they were only awarding basically the people who ran the longer distances at the time, I said, well, I'm still going to get involved and see where I'm at with the 5Ks and the 10Ks. And so I would just put myself out there, and I realized I was really good at it. So the very first race, I came in, I think, 3rd place. And this is all ages, so anybody can compete. And anybody can go at their own pace. I mean, even if you just wanted to hike the trail, you can sign up for Xterra. They're not going to kick you out. They do put a time limit though. Like, if you're not going to make it back in 2 hours, like, sorry, we're going to do
DNF.
Yeah, we're not going to host you basically.
Yeah.
But you can still do it. And so I realized, okay, I'm good at this, and I actually want to take this to the next level. I want to compete and become like a die-hard avid trail runner and get better. And so that's what I did. And when I moved out to Montecito, I was like, man, I'm going to just utilize these trails as much as I can. Even though I'm working hard, I'm working 9 to 5, I'm trying to establish a business, I'm never going to give up on myself and my own training regimen. So I went out and I fucking just ran as much as I could. And it was a great way to release stress. It was a great way to feel confident about myself. My body was transforming. I was getting 6-packs. Everything was defined, and I loved that. But I knew that there was also like a part of me that wanted to keep pushing that rank and also the distances that I was running. Mm-hmm. I was competing in 5Ks, and then I was considering, well, what's keeping me away from doing like the 13 or the 13 milers, right? The half marathons where people are actually winning money for this and getting awarded trips to go to Hawaii and all this shit.
Yeah.
Well, I just kind of took a second and I looked at their body types, and I was like, wow, this is kind of intimidating. Everyone's real skinny, real lean, like jackals out there.
Yeah.
They're tiptoeing around these mountains.
Yeah.
And for myself,
you were kind of lean. You were kind of like had that muscle like form.
Yeah, and I was also like a pretty consistent weightlifter, especially with football and with track. And it wasn't until I branched out and started like really doing trail runs hard that I kind of did more running than weightlifting.
Yeah.
But I always incorporated it, and I always did body weight, push-ups, pull-ups, all that good stuff.
Plyometrics.
Yeah. And so I think at the time I was, after coming out of high school and, putting on some weight, some beer weight, I was like 170 pounds, right? I still had a lot of muscle, but I wasn't really defined or cut or anything like that. And that's where I wanted to take myself, and I wanted to lean down, and I wanted to compete in these 13 milers. And I knew, well, the best way I'm going to be able to have a chance in these things is if I cut down on my weight, I eat a fucking great diet, I train hard, I run these distances. And so that's what I did. I set out for.
Dude.
And so I competed in the 13 milers of Xterra. This was my first series this year, unfortunately cut short because of COVID.
Yeah.
But up to that point, first place in my age division, and basically in the ranks to go compete at state level over in Utah and Ogden. And then go to Hawaii, if I was lucky enough to actually place or feel confident enough to go out there, and even if I didn't like get offered that reward, to go out there myself and spend my own money and have fun doing it, because it's something I do enjoy. But I've reached a point where I realize that this is not going to be the best thing for my body style and type for the long run. Like I don't necessarily want to run 13 miles at a time every week and for the rest of my life.
Because like even training, you would probably have to run maybe like 50, 60 miles a week, and trail running, and
exactly.
You love it, but
I love running. Yeah. But also the time and not the effort, but the time, and also, being in a relationship with my girlfriend Tori and trying to manage a business, it's not realistic, because where you allocate your time, where you focus your time is important. Yeah. And so I've come to this kind of, I guess, turning point where I will always continue running. Running is going to be at the forefront, but I want to develop and become a better MMA artist or boxer. Like I want to get into boxing now.
Okay.
And it's ran in my family. Like I have it in my history. Like my grandpa and my dad boxed. My grandpa was a semi-professional boxer. Yeah. And quite honestly could have been a professional. I know people say that like, he could have been pro, but no, he really could have been pro, but he was just like a drinker, an alcoholic. Yeah. And unfortunately it kind of he took that upon everybody else too. Like his own alcoholism affected everybody in the family. And so my dad was a great athlete, but I think was also brought up in basically negative chatter, like you're not gonna amount to anything or do all this shit. And so it affected the family line in the long run. But the last days of his life were important to me because I was growing up, and these were my peers at the time. Like my grandpa and my dad were my peers, my mom. And I realized, okay, like there's something about this, and there's something about boxing that was always kind of in the back of my mind. And especially recently, like becoming more of a fan of MMA and of boxing in the last 5 years or so, I've realized that something has been marinating here, and that, again, kind of like all these things tie together, like the conditioning from trail running,
it does.
The conditioning from everything, the weight training. I realized like the adjustment is going to be the technique that's going to be the hardest, and like getting involved with that consistency and the speed of boxing and getting hit, taking a punch, throwing punches.
So you want to stick more towards boxing or MMA, or is it
both? So both. Jiu-jitsu? Yeah. Both. I would love to cross train and become a better like jiu-jitsu and wrestler and whatnot, because I think those are fun too. Yeah. I mean, I did spend time growing up wrestling just for fun, and just like wrestling people on trampolines and shit.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, just your buddies like, hey, let's fucking wrestle.
Yeah,
you know?
No, yeah. Grew up doing that too.
Yeah. So there's a part of me of not only competition, but of also kind of just in my family bloodline and where I'm taking it now, where I want to see where that takes me next. And I think Xterra will always be in the background, and you know, if I still compete, it'll just be for fun and, you know, just to be a part of the ranks and whatever.
And then, well, like that leads into the next question, which is Souljah Fitness, which is mammoth.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Souljah Fitness,
break
right?
That down.
Yeah. Okay, so real quick, I launched my business, Souljah Fitness, 2 years ago, right? From scratch. That was having no clients 2 years ago. Yeah. To now, this has become my full-time job and profession, and I'm looking to branch off from Cottage Hospital once Tori gets situated with her nursing degree, and she's about to become a nurse. Shout out to Tori.
Hey, shout out.
So when she does that, I want to give her time and the opportunity to see if it's right for her, because we live together. We pay the same bills. We do all those things, right? We're basically one.
Yeah.
You know, trying to make life work and to the fullest that we can. So I want her to get situated before I actually take the risk, and, you know, because it's not just me. If I was solo, if I was single, I would be taking the risk right now. I would say, fuck, bye Cottage. I'm going to just try and make it happen, but it's more about myself than, you know, or it's more about her than myself.
Yeah.
So basically tying it down. So yeah, now that it's full time, where do I want to grow as a business, as a person, now that I've seen that I can accomplish being a personal trainer and working with people and having successful stories and transformations with those people, right? Because it's not going to stop there for me. I love training people. I realize that there's so much depth that I can access, from kids to elderly, that I'm currently working with, where it's like, wow, there's really transformations happening across the board.
Yeah.
But I want to take that further. You know, I want to take it further, and I don't want to do this forever. I don't want to be a personal trainer forever. So the next thing I want to really get into is not only becoming a better coach and learning more about, you know, anatomical reasons for doing exercise and more of the things that I'm uncomfortable learning about, right? Because you have to learn. You have to learn new things and push yourself. Yeah. And it's not easy, right? I mean, it's not easy to go and accomplish new things, right? Because it's going to take a lot of energy.
A lot of energy.
But like we said, it's infinite energy.
Infinite energy, and it's something that you love to do. So you'll find the time to and energy to do that. Yeah, definitely.
It'll all work out. But basically the goal now is to become a part in someone else's journey to the big leagues. And so not only do I want to become a better coach and help somebody or multiple people basically become better at that sport and really enhance and take it to that professional level. Like, what I'm looking to do is take the amateur to professional. Yeah. And I want to become, whether it's solo, like whether it's like, hey, this guy wants to become the next, you know, Conor McGregor, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm fucking down for that dream, and there's no reason why you can't go out and set out for that.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to apply my knowledge as best as possible to get you to that. But there's going to probably take, it's going to take definitely more than me.
Yeah.
Not only the athlete himself or herself, but the coaches. Yeah, the team.
Yeah.
And so I want to be a part of a team, right? And I want to become a part of, whether it's just one person or multiple people coming up on their dreams and helping them achieve that through conditioning programs, through trail running. I think all these tools are great, especially when it comes to MMA. Whatever you do, high elevation, it can apply to whatever sport you're doing.
Yeah.
And so the conditioning aspects, and I know where I can take that with people and really take it to the next level, because some of the shit that we do out there is pretty damn crazy. Like, people don't know what we do out there. And so not only being a part of the team, but being able to host a place and hold the space for that team. And so
again in nature,
again outdoors, high elevation, Of course, higher elevation and sea level, like multiple facilities. Why can't it be many facilities that are ran by basically the same team, that are all in it for the same reasons, same goals, to become better people, to become better athletes, to incorporate exercise into it, to be out in nature while doing it, even if that's like not like the main thing. And just take it to the next level. And so that's what I'm really pushing towards. And so holding that space and making those connections, I mean, magical things are kind of happening right now as we speak. I've been lucky enough to meet the people that I've met, not only in the hospital setting and being, materials management. It's held its purpose, for many reasons, not just to help out those.
Cottage Hospital.
Yeah, hey, shout out Cottage Hospital and those who are seriously under their roof right now that might be their last night. People who are dying.
Definitely.
And seeing that and really like being humbled by that experience is a blessing. And for all the heroes that are working their passions as nurses and doctors and helping those people, it's great. It's great, but it's not for me. I support it completely, but the connections I've made in the hospital and the connections I've made with the people that have come to me for my help and personal training have been some big fucking sources for also the drive to make this thing happen and create that space to host. Right? Because some of the people that I have, to a benefit, have big money. They're multimillionaires. They're stars. Some, like, one person I work with is a famous singer, and so he knows a lot of people. And he's got me connected with some of the people I've trained, like Spider-Man. I'm not going to mention which Spider-Man. I'll let you guess. A person from Walking Dead, and also somebody else who just came out to visit that I got to meet, who's a famous singer and dancer. And so I'm fortunate. I'm just a person that's out there, and I happen to meet these people because of this connection.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I've also pitched this idea to the connections that I do have and the people in front of me, because I want to make this happen as sooner than later. And so I've put it out there and basically taken a chance, like, hey, how can we get someone to invest in this? Because I don't have the money yet to do that myself. And I don't know if I necessarily want to go through a bank and take out the loan. I'll do it if it comes to the last chance where it's like, okay, this is the money I'm given. I'm going to go try to make it happen. Great. But I'd rather make it happen genuinely with the connections that I have and with the people who are down for it first, and try that. And so everywhere from the property management team that, wherever this location is, to the plumbers involved, to the contractors involved, to people putting the facility together, to the coaches involved, it's going to take people. It's not going to be just me. And so to get someone else fired up on that dream is part of the reason we're doing this podcast too. Is to put the message out there for maybe someone who's coming across this that's going, shit, dude, I would love to do that. I'm serious about that. Or I know a person who's into that. Or I know a plumber. I know someone who's going to be a part of constructing this facility in high altitude and multiple locations for that matter. We'll start with one. Let's just start with one. Let's keep it simple. It's going to come through things like this. And I have faith that it's going to happen through things like this, because that's basically what's been happening with that faith ride this whole time, starting in, Oxnard Hospital, which is crazy.
Dude, faith and belief is a huge thing.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, dude.
That's basically all you need to keep yourself, sane for that matter. Keep yourself afloat.
No, definitely.
That's the beautiful thing about it.
Belief is, I think, very powerful.
Right. And everyone can have that. It's not something you buy.
No.
That's not something that you have to have like a tremendous amount of experience for. You just start. You just start, and you develop a practice around yourself. And I think that's the most important part, is the way you do it is going to be different from other people. And you might have similarities, and you might read books of, oh, maybe I should apply that practice. But at the end of the day, the most successful people always followed their own heart. For the better. And that's not to be selfish. That's to grow together. If you follow your own heart, I think more can get done. More help can be reached across the boards, helping other people.
Well, that too, and you following your heart, somebody might see that and then be attracted to that, so like they'll want to follow their own heart. So it's absolutely. Just a whole kind of cycle of
and cutting, I guess, down like first come first serve, like ideas of what you think about somebody, judging a book by the cover, right? Because somebody who would see me like out on the streets, right, with the shaved head, with the tattoos, and running around like, oh man, this guy's like part of the KKK, right? Like whatever their first thought is, or like, oh, personal trainer, he must be a dick. It's like far from the truth, like, one, I could give a fuck about a skin color. Two, I'm trying to make peace with everybody and love myself and everyone for that matter, no matter where they're coming from.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
And like the more you improve yourself, I think the more you improve other people as well. Cause like, I think we're all connected in a way.
Yeah.
Like, people will, I guess people will see that and be gravitated towards that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, something like this is your passion, right? Like you like podcasting.
No, I love it, dude. I love talking to people. I love, hearing people's stories.
Yeah.
Learning about people.
Wow.
Learning about people's passions and what makes them, what gives them juice, what gives them energy.
Right.
And it gives me energy just like learning about that stuff,
Right.
Yeah.
What a great tool, right? Just like expression captured by film and a microphone, which definitely enhances the feel for it, right?
Yeah, like the visuals and like the audio and
fuck yeah, we've been underwater for a long time.
We've been underwater,
dude. Yeah, no, definitely. But this is a space. Like what you're doing right here, Brandon, is holding a space, just like I want to hold a space for somebody in the fitness world. That's all it is. I mean, it's pretty simple when it comes down to it.
And also it's the one thing that I really love is it's genuine, dude.
Yeah,
it's genuine. It's not like we kind of like set this up,
planned and
yeah, it's all genuine love. It's all for the love, all for the good vibes.
Yeah, of course. Your success is my success.
Yeah,
and vice versa. It's like that's what's great about that. And who knows, like someone you come across, like we could be fucking friends and business partners for life. Really. We have no idea.
Yeah.
Just as you could pass somebody on the street and that might be the last time you see somebody.
Yeah.
But the impact's made, whether it's for one moment or for the rest of your lifetime, a lot of shit happens, dude. It's almost like like when you throw a stone in the water and like all the ripples come out.
Oh, it's like a ripple effect.
The ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
Like what's close to that rock right away is gonna really feel it, but slowly down the line, like everyone's gonna really feel it.
Yeah.
Everyone will get a chance to feel it, even if it's just like slightly.
Yeah.
And so, I think there's a lot of importance in going out after your own dreams, because your own dreams being accomplished changes the world.
It does.
And changing the world for the better, the intention set for the better and a peaceful world is obviously at the end of the goal too, right? Like we want that to happen. We want that to happen now.
Yeah, definitely. And like the present moment, we're doing it.
Yeah,
we're doing it now.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's all we can really do is continue practicing and doing it.
Yeah.
What we know is best. And yeah, man, it's all a learning process, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's sick.
All right, dude. Well, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
And keep the journey going. Keep the vibes, positive vibes going.
Thank you, brother.
Spread that love juice.
We'll do. Thank you for having me, man. Sweet little studio here. I love the underwater shots. And yeah, for people who want to get involved or want to know more about personal training, there's many ways to contact me, but I'd say that Instagram, Austin Nealon, Nealon 27. So Austin Nealon 27 at Instagram. And then also my website, www.souljahstrong.com, SOULJAHSTRONG.com are the best ways to reach me. So whether it's for personal training, whether it's just to reach out, maybe for another podcast, or for the Oasis, the facility to be constructed in time.
There you go.
It's all good. It's all gravy.
Yeah.
Brandon, thank you for what you do, man.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, bro.
Peace.
Wow.
Locked
Got
in,
the
dude.
zone, dude.
We were locked in.
Holy
bro.
shit, dude.